Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Fruit of Labor podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Deanna.
I'm Nate
Pierre-Louis. And welcome. How are you today? How are you today, baby?
I'm good. You just put the baby to take a nap. What about yourself? You good?
I'm good. We're on our second coffee. Is this your third or second?
This is my second cup of coffee.
Second cup of coffee for the day at 2 p.m. We're having a good day. Cheers.
Cheers to that one.
Anyone else's husband only drink hot coffee? I've been trying to get him on the iced coffee wave for so long.
I like a cold brew.
There's some days in the summer where you're like, you know what, I'll get a cold coffee. I'm like, really?
I'm a pumpkin spice type of guy, pumpkin cream cold brew type of guy.
Right, but that's only like in October and November.
Yeah, it's like that's the only time you should drink a pumpkin cream cold brew, when it's the season.
Okay, fair. I could drink a pumpkin cream cold brew all season if they let it.
Yeah, I don't.
Like Starbucks, if you ever watch this.
I'm a Cafe Bustelo type of guy.
Drop it all year.
Cafe Bustelo.
Yeah, he's a home coffee drinker. We'll be out, and I'm like, oh, I need a coffee. He's like, I'm going to go home and make it.
It tastes so good. I love it. I love my Cafe Bustelo, my nice creamer, my cup. It's the vibe.
Good. I'm happy you love it at home. Yeah. I really would like it out every day if I could.
Yeah,
if it was financially responsible, I would eat it out.
You gotta edit that one out. That was wild.
I would drink coffee out.
Drink coffee out every single day.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Let's get into it.
For today.
Go ahead.
Can we just pray first before? Mm-hmm. Lord, I just pray that you just cover this podcast today and this conversation that we're having with my beautiful wife and the person that's watching across the screen. I pray that this podcast could bring people closer to Christ. I pray that, we just continue to lean on you and not on our understanding, and you just continue to be the firm foundation of our relationship and for others' relationships and in their lives and ours. In your name, in your majestic, in your mighty name, Jesus, amen.
Amen.
All right, well, for today, John chapter 15, verses 1 through
5, you want to do?
Yeah, 5, 7, whatever. We actually did this on your
TikTok Live. If you're watching us from TikTok, drop a comment, give us a like, let us know, or just DM me and say you watch us on TikTok Live.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
We did a little Bible study. If you think we should do that more often, let me know. We definitely will.
It was good. We went through the whole thing, but you know me, I just continue to study it, and I fell in love with it. So, chapter 15, verses 1. Starts off with, says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear the fruit, he takes away, and every branch that does not bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you, as a branch cannot bear fruit by itself, unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine. You are the branches. Whoever abides in me, and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you cannot do anything. If anyone does not abide in me, he is not thrown away like a branch and withers. And the branches that are gathered, thrown into the fire and burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you.
I love that.
That's beautiful, bro.
It really goes off with like the fruit of labor.
It does.
Right, like, did you purposely want to add that into this because of that?
Yeah.
Kind of. I think it's so good.
I think it's perfect.
The title of this podcast.
Yeah, it's all about the pruning season and God pruning you and you being attached to the vine. And if you're not attached to the vine, you're not going to get any fruit.
Is that why you feel like we're in a pruning season?
We are in a pruning season right now. And I think that God is pruning us and loving us in the dormant. Because if you look up the word pruning, pruning is when a person who is in charge of a vine, and usually a vine dresser, prunes the vines, and it's in the dormant season, usually late winter. So I'm guessing this is like late winter for us.
Okay. It actually is, though.
Yeah, it's late winter. In order for you to grow fruit from the branches from the vine, you have to go through a pruning season, and that's like taking negative things out your life.
Like trimming the bush.
Trimming the bush. In order for you to trim the bush, that's when you have your fruit. But if you don't and you're not attached to the vine, which is Jesus, you won't get any fruit, and now you're getting thrown away like a normal stick, or just burn away. And
that withers
away. So that's the fruit of the day.
I love that.
I think this is a good segue for the podcast. And
wait, one last thing. In line 8, this is to my Father's glory that you bear much fruit, showing yourself to be my disciples. Like, God really wants you to have everything you desire.
Everything.
And in the right season, after you've been pruned. And when the time is right, like, you will get everything that he puts on your heart. And, like, you will bear much fruit. And that is what, to others, will say, wow, like, God is so present in his life. Like, he really is close to Jesus, because you can see the fruit that he bears.
Yeah, you see it.
So, I love that.
Yeah. Everybody has a different definition of their fruit, but...
Yeah, well, I think that's what's so cool about the Bible, is it can be interpreted so many different ways.
Yeah, but the only person that knows what he's talking about
is Jesus. Yeah, so and I think that's also why, like, we can read the Bible over and over again so many times, and I feel like every time I read the Bible, I, like, highlight something else.
It's a whole different meaning in that moment.
Yeah, or, like, depending on what season you're in your life, what you're going through, it's like different things will stick out to you.
Yeah.
And
I've read that so many times, and I'm now like, wow, this is amazing.
Right, or we read it earlier in the day, and then later in the day, you were like, wait, I have a completely different, like, understanding for it.
Yeah. Stay in your word, people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you watched the first episode, we kind of talked all about us, our marriage, our relationship before marriage, how that looked.
Yep.
Our worldly relationship at the time.
Yeah.
And I think I wanted to kind of elaborate more on that in this episode, because so many times there's young Christians or Christians who are new to church, new to the word. And I think there's kind of a gap. And we talked about this with our pastor and his wife.
Yeah.
A gap for young adults who were like us, that don't necessarily have parents that were Christian or in the church.
Okay.
Kind of looking for what their relationship should look like before marriage. Because I think when you're raised in the church, when you and your partner are, like, equally yoked from, like, young, and then, you know, it can kind of move along quickly. You're like, we have some friends that you know, only dated for like 6 months and got married.
And that's the only girl they've ever been with. And
never sinned.
I mean, they sinned, but probably never sexual immorality, but definitely maybe privately, but not like...
Right. They didn't have the same struggles that we had.
They didn't. Or maybe...
Well, we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know their struggles, but like externally, it doesn't look like that. So I think there are a group of people that, you know, are looking for what their next step should be, and they want to build a strong relationship with God in their relationship that's not ready for marriage, not ready for those next steps, and kind of what that should look like. Yeah. I feel like there's so many marriage conferences. Yeah. And I think there's like, well, what do you do before marriage? And you don't want to just get married to then be able to attend a marriage conference. Like, there's so many things.
You have to date first. You have to see how that looks like.
Right. There's so many things that you could be working on as a couple. Yeah. Before you make that lifelong commitment.
Before the man gets down on one knee. Before you say yes. Before it all.
Right. Huh. So I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. Did
we start premarital counseling before proposal?
We did, which is not normal.
We did.
Yeah, I remember that. We did premarital counseling before we were even engaged, which is not the norm.
Well, thank God. Yeah. Dog, without premarital counseling, bro, that helped me a lot. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think that premarital counseling, I think it should be a requirement, honestly. Definitely. Especially when you're just, because when you think about premarital counseling, you think that everything's going wrong already, you know?
Well, that was honestly
That's what I thought premarital counseling, I'm sitting here, we have problems? I took it, I'm telling you, I'm looking at it, what is wrong with our relationship? It was a lot
so
wrong.
After we were saved, baptized, the next step, our pastor was like, you know, you guys should get into some premarital counseling. And I don't know why that made me really defensive.
That made me very uncomfortable.
Like, I'm like, counseling? Like, does he just think we're like an awful relationship?
Yeah,
like why is he suggesting counseling?
Think about like how we thought about us though. Like we was like, what Bible verse was it? I think it was Matthew chapter 19. It was talking about the rich man going to heaven, and he was like, what else do I have to do to get into heaven? You know, like pretty much listing all your sins and his sins, and like saying like, oh, I don't have to, like I fulfilled every commandment. Like what else do we have to do? I feel like when we were in the beginning of stages trying to be Christians,
yeah,
we were like, yo, bro, we got saved, bro. We in the middle of we not having sex no more.
Yeah.
We sit in the front of the church.
We know everybody in the church.
We know all the stuff. We listen to worship. He's like, what else do we have to do? So I think that was like, dog, we have to do something else, bro. Like,
right.
It was just continuing. Like that was when like we just started learning to die to ourselves a little bit. I know for me it was. What about you?
Yeah, I would agree with. I definitely took it as like, we don't need counseling.
Yeah, I know. I did.
Like
I
almost how sometimes in like just regular like personal life, like if someone's like, you should go to a therapist, people can be like, I don't need therapy.
I don't got a problem.
Yeah, which like therapy is great for a lot of people.
Yes.
And I mean, we think premarital counseling should be a requirement for everyone.
I think it's a form of therapy though.
Definitely.
For sure, with a pastor.
Because so to kind of give an overview on premarital, we knew we were getting engaged. We just, with basketball, you have to have your basketball season. We knew we were going to get engaged in the off season.
You didn't know when though.
I didn't know when, but if you are married to an athlete or dating an athlete,
she thought so many times. Pump fake though.
It's funny, like if it doesn't happen in the off season, it's probably going to be happening the following off season. Like nothing really happens during the season besides basketball.
It's a select few. Shout out to my man Obi Toppin. Congratulations, brother.
But that's like kind of like a known thing throughout like the NFL, NBA, all the leagues.
Yeah.
So basically, we did our premarital before we were engaged, and I think that was like so pivotal to our relationship.
It was. I think it really was.
We did our premarital with our pastor Jamel, who also married us,
baptized us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was very important because we had to make time for it too. Like it was 3 hours. They were 3 hours ahead of us because we was in LA, right?
Right.
So I think it was a sacrifice that we had to make too. Like it was like we had to make sure we were doing this. It wasn't like it would have been easier if they was in the same time zone. Like we went to the same church. The church, our local church, was 3 hours ahead of us. So
a different time zone.
It was different time zone. So it was like we had to make a commitment. It was really a commitment, and it was on Zoom.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of premarital counseling in churches are group settings, right?
Yeah, they were. I think, it was group settings.
Like, I think they'll kind of say, like, anyone getting married, the following year, it's kind of like a group setting.
Even baptisms are usually a
group settings. Yeah, which ours has been a little special because they were always individual. Like, our baptisms were at our pastor's pool by ourselves. And our premarital counseling was just us and our pastor and his wife.
Yeah.
But to kind of give an overall breakdown, again, I don't know what happens in a group setting, but for us, we kind of broke down like all of our childhood trauma.
It was crazy.
And like what makes us the adults that we are today. Like, for an example, I'm the younger sibling. I only have an older brother. And sometimes when we would argue, I would get like very defensive.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the younger sibling, like, fight or flight response.
Yeah.
To, like, attack first. Like, I would, like, say something crazy.
Nutty.
And we learned, like, that was just from, like, how I was raised. Like, the younger sibling always wanted to get my point across, always having something to say. And then you, as an older brother.
Yeah, I have, like, a nurturing. I'm always, like, the one that's always trying to make sure it's like a peacemaker in a way.
But you also can, like, shut down.
Yeah, because I'm, like, that's one of my biggest, maybe sometimes I still do it. Yeah. But like I would say, like I think back then in the beginning of our relationship or this journey that we were on, she would say something nutty, but then I didn't
say something nutty is crazy.
No, that's what it was. It was
it was nutty for sure.
It was nutty, but like I would shut down. But now I guess that like now we learned like if it's something like our pastor literally told us like don't take any some stuff is not meant to take personal. And like
I was taking a lot of things personal. Yeah.
And
granted I could have said it differently, whatever.
But ours was like mine was more like teaching like how to do tone or learning like I'm not perfect. Like I used to be like a lot of the problems were Deanna, and I wasn't looking myself in the mirror. But it was a lot of good in counseling because it was a lot of like self-reflection.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you think about like what you saw in your parents and how that formed you to communicate or to not communicate properly. So it's
like becoming one. We have to become one. It's like building us to become a husband and wife. I don't think that you should just be a boyfriend and girlfriend and then a fiance and then boom, marriage. Like it's a gradual process. Like you don't, when you propose, this is something I would say, like when you do propose, like you still have time to like get better and learn from each other. Like I feel like
100%. It's even in marriage. It's an everyday learning process. Experience. Yeah.
But like I'm not gonna lie, I don't even recognize that kid.
No, me neither.
Louise. I just remember so many times I'm like, dog, like I don't think I could even do that.
Right.
But in the power of great mentorship, prayer, I really think that was a great foundation for us to like stand on. Marriage counseling helped us dramatically. Like I think it was a drastic change.
Oh yeah.
Like without that, and we wasn't even doing it consistently. Like it was consistent, but like it wasn't like weekly. Like we would take breaks on it too. They gave us homework.
I think a lot of people do it weekly when it's in a group setting, but ours was so flexible with your schedule.
Yeah.
You know, you had games, you were on the road, so our pastor was just like making it work with us because he knew the importance of that as well.
But my point was just like it was so limited. It was like probably like 6 or like maybe like 8 to 10 classes, but like it was so powerful.
Yeah, so life-changing.
I'm like, dog, bro, we had homework. It was like, guys, we have homework. We have to make sure we have questions to ask each other, conversations to ask. I just think that without that, like, man, I don't know where we would be.
And so many people say to us, you know, you and Nate make such a good team. Like, what's your secret? And I really think that part of life and in that season that we were in, premarital counseling had us talk about everything.
Yeah, and like, we weren't having sex either, so all of it was just conversation.
But obviously, like the importance of finances. Yeah. What does that look like for you and your partner? Yeah. What does budgeting look like? Yeah. Who takes the reign on budgeting? Who oversees the finances? For us, like that's all my husband.
Yeah.
What that looks like for you could be different.
Yeah.
And then also, like we talked about becoming parents. What does that look like? What are some things that you were raised with that you would want to bring into parenting with your child? What are some things that you were raised with that you want absolutely nothing to do with your child?
Yeah.
And
it was real serious conversations.
Yeah, like the trauma that stems from what you saw as a kid versus what I saw as a kid and how that looks.
How that looks culturally, how does that look, spiritually, mentally, like it was just a whole thing. I'm happy though. I'm happy we did it though, because it was like I used to look at it. Sometimes I was not looking forward to it. I'm like, yo, bro, we gotta go to it. Mind you, I'm tired. We just came from practice. I'm like, dog, I do not feel like doing this, but like I'm telling you,
it changes the game.
Remove your pride. Look yourself in the mirror and dig deep with your person, because this is supposed to be your end all be all. Like this, you're supposed to get only married once, and no shade to the people that get married again. I mean, sometimes the right one's not the right one, but this is supposed to be your life partner, and it's a sense of vulnerability, bro. We were vulnerable with each other, and it was a sense like I thought I knew Deanna. She thought she knew me. It was some things we told each other, like, dang, bro, like. And certain things I'm like, I thought we looked eye to eye on. I'm like, wait, really? This is your point of view?
Do you want to explain kind of the culturally aspect that you kind of just mentioned? Because I think...
Oh, yeah, I remember that conversation.
I think there could be other, like, multiracial couples that are watching this. I know a lot of people DM me that as well, and they're, like, in a similar situation.
Yeah.
So do you kind of want to... I think what I can kind of add to it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is that you thought that what you saw growing up was like standard throughout everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, like, I mean, I just think that like, growing up, like you just think that everybody's like, I mean, mind you, like my mom and dad, my mom's Trinidadian, my dad's Haitian. Like it's a cultural thing, and like we're like from the West, like West Indies, Caribbean. So like a lot of the things, like I know, for example, like when we were talking, like the tone thing was so big, but like I'm just aggressive, you know. Like my dad is aggressive. Like my dad is a sweetheart, but like he's a alpha male, like as alpha as they come. And then I'm looking at I came comparing it to like your side of the family. It's like I seen like a whole different shift. So it was just like culturally we had to like learn, like I had to like take a step back in a way, because I had to like, I'm so like, this is our culture, this is how I was raised, this is what I seen. But it was a sense of like we have to find our own little way that works for us. Right.
So I think what was the biggest like shift is that you thought like your almost excuse for everything is like, oh, we'll never see eye to eye. Like it's a culturally different thing. Like you'll never get it.
Yeah. And like then, some sense of disrespect was like culture, or like some sense of like, this is just what it is. Like I'm never going to like change.
Yeah, this is just how we are essentially. Yeah. And I remember our pastor said like, well, you have to kind of put aside your cultural differences, like the way you were brought up differences, and you need to figure out what works for you. Yeah. And at the end of the day, your similarity is that your marriage is founded on Christ. And that's the only similarity that matters, or only difference that should be, everything else should be irrelevant.
That's so good.
And everything else is, if it's not about Jesus, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I remember vividly like sitting down, just thinking in my head when I was young, when I was like in LA, and I'm just thinking like, dang, like I don't even know if I could do this. Like I was having a very tough time, but like,
well, I think you had this like
I was having a very rough
facade that my like childhood was perfect.
I mean, yeah, I did.
You know,
everyone has their own sense of like, what did you say the other day? You said everyone has their own sense of like trauma or adversity. You said that the other day, which stuck with me, because like you only know what you know, you only know what you see. I just thought that like, I
think you just, this was also like
it was an assumption.
Yeah, and it was kind of young-minded, but like you just assumed that because my parents were together for 27 years before my dad passed away, that they were always perfect.
Yeah.
And it took me to have to explain like things that I liked or loved about my parents. Obviously, we know that.
Yeah.
And things that, I didn't like as much. But it takes a conversation, and that's what's the most important thing about it is, again, communicating. Like there should be no conversation that's off limits. And in your relationship, yes, you need to have respect, and you should never cross boundaries that shouldn't be crossed, but everything should be a green light to talk about with your partner.
Yeah. And that's why I remember we had a lot of off limit things. I'm like, don't talk about it. Let's not talk about it.
Yeah, because it's trauma, and no one wants to talk about that.
Also, you don't want to bring up trauma, but I mean, we learned, and I remember our pastors vividly said, like, yo, bro, like, this is your person, like, be vulnerable, this is like, talk to her like you're talking to yourself. And I remember that we had that conversation, and I mean, ever since then, I mean, I think I'm pretty vulnerable with you.
For sure.
Yeah.
So. Definitely vulnerable over here. There is nothing that's off limits.
Yeah, for real.
So just kind of to wrap it up with next steps, if you're a young couple.
Yeah.
You're not quite ready in that phase to...
It's crazy.
You're not quite ready. Our pastor just texted the phone.
Yeah.
We're like always talking to him.
Yeah.
We can definitely have him and his wife on the podcast one day.
100%. Thank you, Pastor Jamal. Thank you, Miss Michelle.
Yeah, they're the best.
They're literally our godparents.
But to wrap it up, you're a young couple. Let's go like back in time, POV. Younger me and you. You're new to the word. What's one thing you think you should implement in your relationship right away? Because even like we're saying, like, getting with your pastor, like, what if you go to a bigger church and your pastor doesn't even know your name? Like, what are you just going to go up like, hey, can I join marriage counseling? That would be like really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So what is one thing for next step?
I think one thing is just, you can't have one thing. It's like so many things.
I have my one thing.
I'm just thinking about like how when we were like young, just the importance of like, setting a time to be in the Word.
Yeah, that was my one thing too.
That's your one thing?
That was my one thing. literally
I will let you.
set a time
Yeah.
and read the Bible together.
But it's just not like reading the word. Like,
Okay.
It's like, I don't think reading the words is what I was trying to say. Like, I just remember when we were sophomores and I was young, like we were searching, remember? And you was like, let's watch a sermon together. You know, like.
So you think just watching sermons together?
Like, just spending time with Christ and taking the phone off. But that could just be for everybody. I just think that sometimes it's hard to do that.
No, I think that's
because you're not living together, though. You know what I'm saying?
But I think even like if you're together for like a date night, like maybe even if it's like a very like mainstream pastor.
Yeah.
Any pastor is better than no pastor.
Any pastor is better than no pastor.
So
That's
I
a good
think
one. Yep.
if you just YouTube like Michael Todd does that relationship goals series.
Or Philip Anthony Mitchell.
Does he do one on relationships?
No, he's in the Word though.
Yeah, he's a great pastor.
That's a great pastor.
But I know I'm saying like Michael Todd, like we read that book.
We
That's
read
like
relationship goals. Yeah, we did.
It's like a fill-in book.
Yeah.
And
that was good.
Yeah, or even just like he has a series on YouTube you could follow.
Yeah.
And then my one thing, because I think just saying, get in the Word.
Yeah.
What are you gonna start with? Genesis? Like that's hard.
That's very difficult.
And like read the Old Testament first.
One thing I will say before you say something is like I just remember I think it was Pastor Jamel talk about like think about like how you are as a Christian now. Like we're talking like where we are now. You know,
Right.
like you can't expect like a guy who's in the CYO to play in the NBA. Like just
I don't know what that means, but okay.
like I mean like you can't have like our guy who's playing rec center. Like imagine a guy who's playing in the rec center and like just throw him in the game.
What was the first thing you said?
CYO.
What is that?
It's like similar to rec center in basketball.
Oh, okay.
Like entry level, like I'm
Right,
not,
just
like your walk,
just
just newer to the
newer
walk
to the
with
walk.
Christ, and then like you build an armor, you build some time, you know.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like maybe even
different.
premarital counseling is too much.
Too much. It can scare people away.
Right.
It can.
So I think
spiritual maturity is real.
finding some sermons to watch online, you can always DM me and I can try to send you some.
Yeah.
Or we loved Bible plans on the Bible app.
Bible plans help a lot.
You can literally type in the search bar relationships.
Yep.
And you'll get so many.
Yeah.
And
we started with Bible plans.
Yeah, and they break down scripture. They give a better understanding. There's questions at the end that you and your partner can answer together. Yeah, I just think the Bible plan is so great for new Christians.
Yeah.
To really be able to get into the Word without feeling overwhelmed by the Bible.
Yeah. That's very good because I just remember waking up, rolling over like, I gotta read my Bible plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bible plans were good because you had the little streaks too with the Bible.
Yeah, and even
cool, it's dope.
Even like
Still do
read them separately and then, later on connect. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Last point, because this is so great, and we learned this in premarital counseling. Start talking about highs and lows of your day.
Yeah.
We found in our relationship that we never really brought up our highs, like our good parts of the day. And then when we had a bad part, we kind of didn't say it. And then there'd be a point where like you would be like explode and be like, well, you did this, and this to me like last week, the week before that, and the week before that. And then it would be like a whole blow up argument when I didn't even realize, or like vice versa. I would not say anything.
Yeah.
And then it all built up. So we loved that. Remember how we loved that. So it was like every day at the end of the day, just, hey, babe, what are your highs and lows for the day? Yeah. And there's sometimes we're like, didn't have any highs or didn't have any lows. It was a great day.
It's a great way to just to have a conversation. Yes. Sit down and just like, and just hear your girl, hear your husband, hear your wife out of like, how was your day?
Right.
What was going on with your day? Oh,
highs
really,
and
sweetie,
lows.
Just sweetie, that's it. Then one question could lead to another, and then now you're in the day. Now you're in the real trenches of like what's going on in the day.
Yeah, and I think
we've had that a lot too.
Right, that helps eliminate some of the bigger arguments that can come if you like start having conversation like, oh, when you did that bothered me, or when you didn't do this for me, and I asked you to the first time, that bothered me, etc.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, I think right now that's easier.
My hands are cold.
Yeah, it's very cold. I think that it's important to start with a Bible plan because I always tell people now the Bible plans are great, but if you're not a reader Like, I know a lot of people love audiobooks. You could listen to the Bible in so many
and you've been doing that too a lot, right?
Oh, that's been helping me drastically.
Even having a voice to the Bible kind of can help.
Yeah, for sure. The dude's voice sounds like it's dope.
Because sometimes I'm like, what is this word?
They need a Morgan Freeman. They need Morgan Freeman to read the Bible. That'd be pretty dope. But I just think that, like, it helps a lot. You know, I know that for me, reading was difficult because I read the Bible front and back, second time, front and back. Now we're on the third time. I just want to listen to the Bible. I want to hear the Bible. You know, like, you know, I wake up in the morning before the first song, I'm listening to the Bible. Before I pray, listen to the word. It's just beautiful because, like, you hear it. It's like music. And now I know for me, like, I could listen to a certain song and boom, I understand it completely. Like, I hear it 3-4 times. I know the words. If you listen to the Bible, I feel like it's in your brain, and some people just
it's a different way to understand it.
People learn differently, and people, you know, accept certain things differently. And I think for me, it helped me with listening to the Bible.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this episode.
And no questions or anything?
I don't have questions this time. If you guys want me to bring back the questions, let me know on Instagram, and we can do that for you in the next episode.
Sounds like a plan.
You didn't shout out your jersey.
My man Saquon Barkley, man. Quando, we about to win it all.
I hope so, y'all. We're filming this way before the Super Bowl, but
we're gonna win it all.
What's today? The NFC champs?
No, tomorrow's the NFC Championship. We play against the Washington Commanders.
But this is gonna come out way after this, so
I pray,
fingers crossed that it all goes good.
I pray Saquon runs for 250 yards, and Jalen Hurts. I pray for your knee, and I pray that Darius Slade has 6 picks or something. Or I love the Eagles. We love Philly.
We're big Philly fans.
Yep.
Anyways. Thank you guys so much for watching this podcast or listening to this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music, make sure you follow. Thanks for watching. Bye.